Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a love story, one that started over 150 years ago. A love story that changed the world forever. This love story started with two people in 1829. William, who was born on April 10th in Nottingham, England, and Catherine in Ashbourne, Derbyshire on January 17th. The first love interest in each of their lives was the love of Christ. William found this love in 1844 and Catherine in 1846. In 1851, William and Catherine met and fell in love. After 4 years of courting, that's dating for you younger folks, they were wed, creating a love affair for the ages. A woman ahead of her time, Catherine authored Female Ministry, which was published in 1859. The love of Christ burned in her heart. Catherine was a proactive, no-nonsense woman, a trendsetter of her time. She brought a female perspective to the ministry, then named Christian Mission 150 years ago. It was around the same time we Americans fought for the love of all people in the Civil War. That same year, William and Catherine heeded the call to open the Christian Mission in East London. They soon found that you can't speak to someone about their soul if they're hungry, if they don't have shelter, if they need clothing. Hence, the Salvation Army Social Services program that is well known throughout the world today began as a means to help people and to share the good news of the gospel. In 1873, the typewriter was invented, so those with bad handwriting could send love letters. In 1876, Mr. Bell gave us the telephone so we could call each other and share our feelings of love without anyone knowing we were blushing. In 1877, the first Wimbledon Tennis Championship was played, and the word love was used instead of 30 love. In the same year, electric streetlights were turned on in London. The Christian Mission was renamed the Salvation Army. The love of the people of this army began to grow. The first edition of the War Cry hit the street in 1879, proclaiming the need to help those living on the streets in the midst of poverty and despair. This publication now has an international presence. That same year, realizing that they were an army by name and their publication was a well-received publication, the War Cry, it was decided to take the next step in creating this unique army by designing a uniform. This proved to be a brilliant step towards structure and discipline to the newly formed organization. This was also the same year that the love of the Army crossed the ocean, when Eliza Shirley opened a Salvation Army factory in, you guessed it, the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. The work of the Army started in the U.S. and in Australia in 1880. In 1881, the international headquarters moved to Queen Victoria Street. The first War Cry was published in the U.S., and Major Alfred Wells began the Salvation Army in San Francisco. And that's when the legend of the daring, extraordinary Salvationist Joe the Turk began. He was an Armenian son of missionaries in Turkey. His father died when he was 3, leaving a penniless home for his mother, 3 boys and 2 girls. There was no education available for a boy who did not speak Turkish. After Joe discovered a missionary school from America that had no students, he became the recruiter and filled the school with kids from the street. He was just 7 years old. Eventually, Joe decided to join his brother in America. He spent 13 months in New England learning English, then headed to California. That is where he became the walking terror of Berkeley. Even the hoodlums feared him. He was strong, mean, and angry. He had lost his love for God, but God had not lost his love for him. Joe found Christ again thanks to John Millsaps of the Salvation Army. Joe the Turk put all his skills into his ministry. He was stoned, stabbed, and battered, and he wore his scars like a badge of honor. He would be jailed 53 times for Jesus. The first time in jail was for 8 days. He started a choir and taught the prisoners army songs. In 1888, San Bernardino opened, and Joe was arrested again. The next stop was Portland, Oregon, where it was illegal to blow a horn. Not good for an organization that found converts by walking through the streets playing brass band instruments. So Joe grabbed the band and hit the streets performing "Never Run Away." They got to perform it all the way to prison. Joe also took on politicians in Macomb, Illinois. He was shot at in Waukegan as he rushed through an entire crowd to pull an Army Salvationist from the gallows. Joe loved Christ and the Army. Now back to William and Catherine. William negotiated with the Church of England, and the Salvation Army became a branch of the church. This is the same year that Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper were created. You know, I'd like to buy the world a Coke and furnish it with love. In 1888, the first Junior Soldier Brass Band was formed. On October 4th, 1890, Catherine was promoted to glory to meet up with our Lord. In 1891, the first food and shelter depot opened in New York. This is the same year of the first Christmas kettle drive. In 1897, the first Salvation Army hospital opened in Nagercoil, India. In 1898, William prayed before the U.S. Senate, and that very year, the Salvation Army began here in Jackson County. In July of 1909, Lieutenant Colonel Jenkins came from Seattle to enhance the meetings the Army had been holding. He held a lecture at the Opera House titled "From Bethlehem to Calvary." On August 20th, 1912, William joined Catherine in heaven, but the love story continued. In 1913, the Salvation Army started in Russia, and in 1914, World War I began. In 1914, 2 men and a lady, members of the Salvation Army, canvassed Medford. In August of 1917, in an act of love, the Salvation Army Donut Girls began making and handing out warm donuts. These lasses took their place right on the front lines with our soldiers. In 1920, the first Medford Advisory Board was created. In 1921, Mrs. Bramwell headed up a young girls' Sunbeam troop, while Captain Sinclair held meetings in the basement of the M&M Repair Store in Jackson County. In 1930, the Salvation Army in Medford bought the Methodist Evangelical Church for $2,500. It was condemned in 1962. In 1936, the work began in Mexico. In 1938, Captain Eunice Guillot talked about the Salvation Army on TV. In 1941, the international headquarters were destroyed in the bombings of World War II, and the Army initiated the formation of the USO. 30 Salvation Army officers served as chaplains in the armed forces of World War II in 1943. The Medford Shelter, now Hope House Transitional Living Center, opened in 1952. In 1955, Congress put "In God We Trust" on U.S. currency. The same year, the Salvation Army began the radio program Heartbeat Theater and expanded the emergency disaster services to include mobile kitchens and canteens. In 1962, the Salvation Army began in Puerto Rico, and the Salvation Army in Medford moved to its current location on Beatty Street in Liberty Park. The Catherine Booth College opened in 1982. The Second International Youth Conference was held in Illinois in 1985. In 1992, national headquarters moved to Alexandria, Virginia. In 1995, all married women officers were granted rank in their own right. As the Salvation Army had been on the forefront of all major disasters across the world, September 11th was no exception. One of the first response teams to arrive on site and the very last to leave at cleanup completion. The Army offered food, shelter, first aid, and counsel. Whether heading to Nepal or helping one person in Jackson County, the Salvation Army is set on doing the most good. Locally, the Salvation Army offers church services as well as weekly programs, including an after-school program. Social services are provided for those in need without discrimination, offering hope, dignity, and love. Hope House provides a transitional living program for veterans, families, single women, and men. Jackson County, part of the love story started so long ago. Today, the Salvation Army worldwide serves in more than 127 countries and preaches the gospel of Jesus Christ in over 160 languages. We celebrate today this love story, one that's lasted 150 years.